It's been a cold and rainy morning, and I wanted to, I felt like making a video to share a little bit about the chakras, but also to speak generally about the process of spiritual transformation. And this, where I'm coming from in this share, if you've been here on my channel for some time, then you may know that I share a lot about the teachings of yoga, right? And if you're new here, welcome. My name's Grant. I've been teaching for the past 10 years, teaching yoga for 10 years. And I've been practicing for about 11 years. And in that time, I think I've discovered some things. And I can't say that I know anything for sure, right? I'm still learning. I'm still and always will be a student. But I feel like some of the things that I am discovering or have discovered, and some of the knowledge that has been passed to me or received by me in some way, I'm doing my best to assimilate it and digest it and then translate it and share it when and where it is meant to be shared. And the growth of this channel has shown me that there are people out there like yourself who are interested in these the teachings of yoga. Sorry, I'm making a fire in the process of talking to you. So where do I start? I think, as I was saying, I want to talk a little bit about the chakras. And as I share, what I feel like I want to share today about the chakras is related to this process of spiritual transformation. So even if you're not a yogi, or even if you're new to the practice of yoga or the path of yoga, but you're interested in transformation on some level, then what I hope that you receive from the video today and for what I share is going to be relevant to you and relevant to your journey of cultivating more light, more, I like to just see it like that, more light, more awareness, more self-actualization is a good way to think of it. But in that, process of actualizing the self, the question that I like to ask myself is, well, what am I doing? What is the point of spiritual work? What is the point of all this stuff that I'm doing? Why do I have this fire temple here? Why do I come out here every morning and chant to the fire? And why do I do my breathing exercises and my asanas and all the other things that I do as part of the path of yoga? And the answer that I come up with, as I start to learn more and more every day about what is the process of self-actualization, what is spiritual transformation, I am continually seeing that it's a process of purification, for sure, like purifying the lower vibration patterns, the lower vibrational thoughts and frequencies that I'm carrying in my, whether it's my physical body or in my nervous system or in my subtle body or my auric field, whatever name or label or category I'm talking about. There are what I would call densities, like stickiness, residue that's somewhere attached to me or held on by me in some way. And I think that these densities, they accrue and they accumulate over time, and largely are the result of misaligned patterns, right? Misaligned ways of thinking, misaligned ways of behaving, of basically ignorance about my true nature, right? And of course that cascades all the way down into the physical body, where then eventually, if I'm not taking care of cultivating alignment myself, then disease can happen, or pain in the body, or right, postural deficiencies of different types. So this is just like how I perceive that, right? Like this is a general overview of spiritual work, right? And spiritual transformation, that at its core, whether we call it yoga or something else, what we're hoping to do, at least what I'm hoping to do, and maybe you're interested in this as well if you're interested in spiritual transformation, is removing from our consciousness, or transforming from our consciousness, from our psyche rather, the things that are not quite optimal, right? Not in the best, most aligned configuration of energy. Because, and this is I'm gonna factor this into what I'm talking about with the chakras, like in my being, right? This is how I'm kind of see this, of the way the energy flows through me. In my being, as I engage in the world, the energy, the life force, the light is coming through me, and then I am configuring it in some way depending on how I'm perceiving the world. So follow me for a second, right? It's like my reality and what I see around me, including all of my relationships and all of the projects that I'm involved in, and basically everything that I am experiencing in my reality, is a function of the previous actions that I've taken to bring me to the place where I'm at now in perceiving what I'm perceiving. You follow me on that? If the energy, or if I am perceiving that as true, right? If I acknowledge, like, okay, where I'm at today is the result of prior actions, then I can start to look at, well, what are the actions I'm taking right now? And are those actions setting up the right pathway of energy so that the manifestation of some future that is desirable is, how do I say it, existing here in this moment? You see what I mean? Like, the steps that I need to take right now will ultimately lead me to the desirable future. But remember, that future is just a thought. So it exists, the future, whatever it is that I'm desiring, exists right here, right now, as in potential form that I can activate through whatever action I take right now. So if I see that connection between the energy that's motivating the action and then the outcome, if I can draw that connection, then I'm accessing in the present moment what I want right now. And the rain is starting, so I don't know how loud it's gonna get, but I'm hoping that I can reach a conclusion for this video so we don't lose the train of thought. But going back to chakras, okay? So with the chakras, like, we're talking about these subtle energy centers in the along the length of the spine. And I like to think of them, like, the word chakra sometimes is translated to mean wheel or disc. And we see it in Hatha Yoga, the spiritual anatomy of Hatha Yoga, or the physiology of that system, and that spiritual science sees that the nadis, which are the currents of energy that run through the body, Where they are most where they cross paths are in this central channel along the length of the spine. And there are particular hubs, wheels of energy where it's like a focal point of energy. And those are seen as the adharas, the chakras, the like reserves of the energy. Going back to what we were saying about energy, right? And energy passing through us and coming into action. In order for that energy to take particular form, it has to move through different centers in the body, right? So conceptualize this for a moment with me. This is more of the kind of the spiritual map from the yoga system. That light, consciousness is descending into us from beyond and through the crown of the head, coming down and in to our body and manifesting into physical form. So this is the stepwise fashion that consciousness light descends to become the physical reality. So it's taken a couple steps, and we are the outcome of that. You following me so far? So my life is the outcome of the light manifesting, and the different actions that I've taken have configured that light into the arrangement that it is now, which is what I call my reality, what I see around me, including my physical body. If I can pay attention to how that light flows through me and can work really hard to not obstruct it, right? To not obstruct the inspiration that is moving me through my life, to not question it, to not analyze it, to not obstruct it in any way, then the chakras are flowing freely and the energy is moving freely through that system. But if somewhere along the way the light's coming in and then it gets twisted or distorted, then the light, that impulse, that inspiration, that energy is then distorted in some way, right? Or distorted. And I think that distortion of light is what leaves residue in our body. And specifically in the context of the chakras, leaves residue in the chakras. The energy, if it doesn't pass through cleanly and it becomes manipulated or controlled in some way by ultimately our ego and greed and selfishness and ignorance, then we end up having to deal with the karma of our selfishness, of our greed, of our ignorance, because that karma is like a residue, right? It's like the action is incomplete. The light's trying to flow through and come into the world to become something, and we have fudged it up, which then we have to go back later and purify where that energy is stuck. And that, I think, is ultimately the nature of transformative work, is that it is purifying these channels so that the light that's flowing in and through us can no longer be obstructed. It moves through us unobstructed because the channels are purified and the light can flow freely. So working with the chakras and understanding the chakras and seeing them as these wheels of where the energy is localized, we can directly start to clear the, it's like a disc. Remember old CD-ROM? I don't know if you guys have CD-ROM still, or if you're old enough to know what the CD even is, but we used to put toothpaste on it and we would clean it so that when it ran in the computer to receive the information from the disc, a laser was shot up into the disc as it spun, and that's how it would read the information on the disc. It's the same thing in the chakras, right? Light is passing through them and they're spinning, and in so doing we can perceive the world of form, which is just different frequencies of light that then we have to decode with the brain and the mind, right? We take through our senses, the five senses smell, taste, touch, hearing, and what am I missing? Sight. We are decoding all of that information of light up through the nervous system and into the brain, into the mind, and then determining what to do from that synthesis of information, which is really light that's been categorized and processed in a specific way. So transformative work requires us to go beyond ourself and access a greater realm of understanding, which is ultimately the realm of pure light, of pure consciousness. And it's from that realm that all of this light's coming into us, but then it's getting messed up because our system is incapable of allowing it to flow through us without obstruction. So the chakras are the places that we work, at least specifically in Hatha Yoga and with the Bhuta Yoga method, to deal with how is the energy flowing through those centers, and can I start to clean them, just like a CD-ROM, clean them so that it can pass through without obstruction. That's all I wanted to share, just an overview of the chakras. If you want to practice with me, I just released a video working with the chakras, so you can check here, and we will continue with our study and our transformation of our being. See you guys next time. Peace.